All right, I've welcome back for the episode of Carnivore Trades. Today is Friday, June 7th, 2023. If you're not done so already, please give it a thumbs up, like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Come find me on carnivoretrades.com for swing trading alerts and analysis. Anyways, let's get into it today. Interesting price action. So we had the NFP number tomorrow. I talked about how important that was going to be with ADP yesterday. And it's a big surprise, right? It was basically the complete opposite. So that number came in, around, I think it was 200,000 or so. Estimates were around 225, 230. So we got a little bit of a buy the dip in the morning. We did still gap down though, but futures were lower and they started to rise a little bit. We got a nice buy the dip, came back in, and then we just got kind of a, as soon as we got through this 440 area, there's 4,400 gamma. So today was all about gamma. If we're looking at the SPX, 4,400 was a level. The bears needed to break and the bulls needed to defend. We gapped down into it, and then we put in a higher low. And as soon as we got above that, we had another big level at 4,450. But they were all over the place today. So 4,440, 4,450, they kept coming up with new levels. And then today, it really flipped over. So we got all the way back up to here. So here's the thing for bears here, I'll say, is that we have an island here. And if we take the SPX off, because it's got that big green bar, but here's this big island, right? And we went up there and we tested that. Essentially tested the lows, and we rejected pretty hard. But I thought we would kind of come back into 44.25. There was pretty much gamma on both sides sitting there, and I thought we would just sit there for the rest of the day. They blew everyone out. So 4,400 puts paid out, and a nice reversal to a day that had bullish news. That's definitely weak. If you're a bull, you want to see, it's okay to come back in, but you wanted to see a dip buy around here at least. And then, it doesn't mean you have to surge, but you want to see a higher low attempt. And we actually took out the low of the day with that fade in the end of the day. And we actually closed, we just closed barely above the previous low of the day. But either way, not a good candle, gravestone doji. So here's kind of your negatives right now for bulls. Is you curled back up. Okay, you got the nice gap. And then you hit the 20 moving average yesterday, and you got a nice pop off of that. Especially today, gap down and rallied up. This should have had gas. But to close back down here is, weak. Like this should have had, if this was strong, you'd think it's okay, the 20 moving average catching up. There's your fuel, but it's coming right back down. Take a look at the 4 hour. We got to pop off that 4 hour 20 moving average as well, and then right back down without making a new high. Not even, it didn't even hold for one candle. In fact, it's an engulfing. It's definitely a sign of weakness. On the flip side, here's really what matters. Volume is 82 million shares as it's 4:12 p.m. right now, so it's a little bit, including a little bit after hours, but that's not great volume. Right, average is about 91 million. So we're not at average volume. Secondly, you did absolutely no technical damage, right? So, look at the 20. We're still above that. You still closed above that 438 level. The weekly is still just an inside little kind of inside week. No real problems, right? We look at yields, 2 year. It had a pop, a drop and then a pop. It's still holding up though. Maybe that's kind of freaking the market out a little bit. Look at the intraday, 15 minute. We came down, but it's, came way off the lows. It's hanging in there. Maybe the market's kind of, looking at that. That could be a thing. We do have CPI next Wednesday. Last several CPIs have been nothing burgers. This one, I think, will be a something burger based on that jobs report, based on the 2 year, which is, again, I just hammer it into your head every single day, but it's that important. That 2 year gets above 5.08. That is a problem for the market. Right now, it's holding up. I said, previously, it's probably gonna have to make a higher low. It's be very rare if you just blew through double top like that without flagging or anything. But either way, markets here. Bottom line, no technical damage, but definitely a little bit of a weak showing. So just keep that in the back of your mind here. Triple Qs here, again, down 32 basis points. And again, you got lower highs here, 1, 2, 3 potentially now. Again, it's not like broken, nothing damaged yet. You're still above the 20, still above all the moving averages, but a little bit on the softer side. And again, I've mentioned this recently. I think if there's going to be more upside, it's going to come from the SPY, it's going to come from the Russell, it's going to come from, other sector, XLF, XLE, that type of thing. I still think the Qs are just way too extended. 20-week moving average is down at 330. Yeah, we're at 366. We're just really extended. It could be a situation where it's kind of the inverse of where March, April, right, where the Qs were starting to lift up, and in kind of that May period, the spiders were still stuck in the mud. Maybe it's a little bit of an inverse of that. So that could be a thing here. But if we do push up, again, we're looking at 450. So right in that area, there's your pivot high. Also a 7.5 retrace from the all-time high is about 448 or so. So there's and then there's that phantom print at 453. Lots of things to look at. But right now, bottom line, near term, yeah, nice little fade. Still no technical damage, still no volume. So just take that with a grain of salt for now. The Russell did hold up as well, and this is another point for the bulls here. Up 1% on the day. Can't really argue with that. It did finish below the 20, so it did reject that. So a little bit of weakness, but again, higher lows there. That can still get to 192. No real issues. Dow was the softest. Healthcare took a hit. UNH, that rolled over pretty sharply here. Let's look at the XLV. XLV, down 1.16. That rolled over as well. So the Dow on the weaker side, again, UNH is the biggest component there. You still got to take out this pivot. If you do, you can get to 331.45, possibly the 200-day moving average. Onto the semiconductors here. That managed to scratch out again, and there's another point for the bulls there. Semis leading generally is a good sign. NVIDIA had a nice pop, and, it came off the highs here, but finished green. And the semis obviously finished up 14 cents, so no problems here. Still flirting with this trend line, though, and it is technically a head and shoulder. It hasn't triggered yet. If you close below that trend line, then it can be in play, and it's not a huge one, but, you could get probably down to this 50 moving average, maybe down to this trend line here from that target. But either way, they're holding up for now, so we'll respect it. IGV looks like it closed right on that 20 MA. And again, this moving average is still minor, but this is kind of the first step of, making technical damage. It looks like we just closed below it. Nothing broken, just that. I want to take a look at Oracle, though. That is a market leader. Yeah, still holding that island. If you break that, though, this can go down to 105 pretty quickly. But IGV here, again, down, just like everything else, and fading off the highs. Here's another point for the bulls. Dow Transport's holding up. So, again, up 1%. When I see that, generally that's okay for now. Again, pivot. We went into it. I still think it needs to consolidate more to get through that. 20 moving average might need to catch up, might need to flag a little bit, but it's holding up for now. So again, continue to respect it. All right, back over to yields here. So again, 2-year, again, 20 MA test, just needs to do some consolidation, and then this will push through that. Double top, 5-year inside day, nothing wrong. Inside doji after a big surge. I don't see any problems here. 10-year, you guys can see it pretty plain. That's about as clear of a breakout as you can see. So 10-year holding up really well into this little pivot. That may need to back off and consolidate, but if it does, it's going to go through it, which it will. 30-year above 4% here, closing above 4% as well. So that is a new year-to-date closing high. That's a new 8-month closing high for the 30-year yield. And so I know everybody thinks yields are going back down to zero, but I am not in that camp. So again, yields remain strong. I would not bet against them here. HYG still on the softer side today, although it did close green. But XHB here in the housing, again, holding trend. That was actually green on the day, hanging in there just fine. That can still go higher. ITB up 18 cents. That can still go higher as well. VNQ down 23 basis points. Just cannot get above 84 on a weekly close. So no confirmation there. Nothing really doing there for VNQ until proven otherwise. XLF actually green on the day, up 5 cents. Green in a down tape. Still weekly, kind of, bearish sort of consolidation, so I don't love it there. KRE up 2.17%. That's hanging in there okay. Still weak. on the weekly. Same thing with KBE. And broker dealers had a nice day today. Again, we talked about the weakness yesterday. They got a nice pop. This can still, if it gets above 40, can still go to 490. Crude here, nice outside day. Getting out of this little range here. So that's, basically a monthly closing high there for crude. Don't really see it getting much through 74, 75 right now, maybe 76, but it had a nice pop here, and we'll leave it at that. If this continues higher, we'll watch it, but I'm still in the camp that this is bearish kind of weekly consolidation for now until proven otherwise. I think crude will have a monster second half of the year, but we're not quite there yet. If you ask me, XLE up to 0.15% here, still weekly bearish consolidation until proven otherwise. XOP back testing this little trend line, and you got to pop off of that. So that's holding up. So some of these energy plays are holding up a little bit better than crude itself. Is that telling us something? It's possible. Nice inside doji on the weekly. Not terrible. Don't hate that. OIH scorching 7% gains. This may have bottomed, okay? So you guys know I've been giving you these levels exactly, and this respects my levels very well. It's one of those equities that just loves my levels. 307.70. We had a weekly close above 292.82. That is a negated inside bar pattern. So OIH is scorching right now on volume. So now you are going into resistance here. This is a failed. You had bullish consolidation up here, inside bar. That failed. There will be bag holders there. Do not chase this. If this gives us weekly consolidation, it's going to go a lot higher, though. So just be aware of that. OIH could be a bull play here in the future. Again, maybe these are starting to take off before crude. Maybe that's a little bit of an indicator there. Maybe somebody knows CPI is going to be hot, and they're getting into this energy sector stuff ahead of time. We'll see. But I like OIH. I like what it did. Got above that weekly level. You guys know I've been talking about this every single week, and there it is. And that's an impulsive move, by the way. Yeah, big surge on volume. So, but it is into resistance. Don't chase it. Let it flag. Let it consolidate. Nat gas pulling back as well. Still an inside week here and holding trend. I don't see really any issues. I know they had the rig count. They added rigs or whatever, but again, still inside pattern here. Nothing's broken on that. That's holding up just fine. Dollar index took a pretty good hit, though. So if we flip over to the DXY here, there we go. Again, so we were kind of said yesterday, look, if this firms up, it can, could still go higher, but you got to close above this level. We never did. Outside move down. This can still go lower. Nothing to say it can't. Again, on the weekly, still inside bar, right? So weekly inside bar 103.75. You close above that, it changes. If not, maybe this goes down. I told you guys months ago this might go pierce 100. It might have to do that after all. So we'll watch that. I know kind of some other currencies are, the euro strengthening a little bit here, and that's kind of putting pressure on the DXY. But pretty good hit there on the dollar today. Over to gold. So gold getting a nice pop here again off the weak dollar, but nothing great, right? The dollar down as much as it was, you'd think gold would be surging, and we still couldn't get above that 20-day moving average. It's still holding this trend line, though. I still think you need to go to 1850 right now, but it's hanging in there. I don't have a position. I don't really have a serious bias either way. Silver took a whack yesterday, back up 1.7%. Still think that needs to go test 21. Platinum hanging in there. Okay, that still needs to go lower. Palladium still needs to go lower as well. Putting an inside bar consolidation there on the daily. Copper, nice little bid here. I think that still wants to go down to 340. All right, over to Bitcoin and cryptos here. So Bitcoin, again, holding that 20 moving average. This can still go higher. No problems. Nothing has changed. 32.5 to 32.75 is still on the table. We did take profits today with members on Riot, so we got 28% on that trade. Got in at about 1160, 1170, I think, and then got out today at pierce of 1501. Exceeded my target by a little bit, but the math worked out. Again, if I see a weekly pattern like that, I'm going to take it every single time. There's just no way you're going to tell me not to take that. So nice pop there. We got some messages from members and others about some of these other names. So Coinbase being one. This is into resistance. We talked about this in the live stream a week or two ago, but you came up here, with a big pop, and same thing with volume, and then it reversed twice. Now you've gone from 47 to 78. That's like what, 75, 80% in 3-4 weeks. It's going to need to consolidate if it wants to get through that. It's going to need to flag. So there is resistance here. I would protect this if you own it, or trail your stop. Same thing with MSTR. That did come in off the highs. Riot was really the strongest one today. MSTR, kind of going into this level here. And what's interesting to me, Mara came back in too. That one's been strong as well. A little bit of a tail there. But what's interesting to me is that Bitcoin didn't really do much today. So are these miners offsides, or is Bitcoin, or is it a leading indicator that this is going to take off? Could be either or here, but just protect some of those if you're in the money on them, and trail your stop. But I still have an upside bias here to 32.5 to maybe 33,000 on Bitcoin. Lastly, back over to the spiders again. So short term, bears definitely stepped up for once, and pretty good fade. Definitely can't say that wasn't. We retested that island setup, and it got rejected. But there's a lot of positives, right? Semis green, transports green, Russell green, XLF green. So it could just be kind of a 0DT gamma thing. I know the gamma levels were going all over the place today. By the way, VIX was red too. So something to keep an eye on. This could still make a higher low though. There's plenty of room. So just keep that on the radar here. Be nimble in this market. Really big level is going to be, or big data watch will be next Wednesday, CPI. I think that we'll get volume coming back next week. I think everybody that took off, to me, it looks like they took the whole week off, just judging by the volume trends. So I think starting next week, we'll start to see a little bit more volume in this market, and maybe some more meaningful moves. Anyways, guys, gonna wrap up here. You guys take care. Have a great weekend. Come find me on carnivoretrades.com. Talk to you all next week.